Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Friday's edition on the DCEU Daily. On today's show, J.K. Simmons continues to talk about his expansive full role in the Batgirl movie. We spoke a little bit about it yesterday. There's a little bit more from that interview. Comic book look into the tease that Zack Snyder posted on Vero from his original take of the first Wonder Woman film, and ask the question, is he hinting about a Snyderverse live action project? We'll look into that as well. But first of all, on Friday's DCEU Daily, we look into Zack Snyder versus Hollywood. Zack Snyder went to war with Hollywood and he won. They tried to destroy him. The media tried to destroy him. Elements of the fandoms tried to destroy him. Comic book writers and producers tried to destroy him, mock him, take him down. You see, Zack Snyder versus Hollywood is a bit like Rocky versus Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. I suppose you kind of look at it in the sense of, you know, Apollo is dead at the hands of Ivan Drago, and then it becomes a kind of revenge movie. So they all love Zack Snyder after 300, a great adaptation of Frank Miller's graphic novel. Everyone celebrated it. It was new age technology. He's put it all together seamlessly. There was no reason not to like it, because 300 wasn't a very famous graphic novel, but a popular one. That's, you know, I think stuff like Sin City is a lot more popular. But then Zack dared to create his life's work, something that he dreamed of as a child, to direct a Watchmen movie of his own vision. Now, you see, Miller's Watchmen is not Frank Miller, is it? Of course it's not. Is it Alan Miller? I can't even remember. I think it's something Miller. Anyway, if you read the original graphic novels for Watchmen, these are not your Justice League or your Avengers. These are really, you know, kind of reality-based superheroes. They're flawed individuals. And there's some pretty, you know, bad characters in this group, right, who are supposed to protect people. They're you and me as superheroes, right? So Zack Snyder saw this situation, and because that's what Zack Snyder likes to do. It's what he did with Man of Steel and BVS, and even with his Justice League movie from a certain point of view. So the comic books already did that, but Snyder brought them into the real world, kicking and screaming even more. So a lot of die-hard fans and the creator of Watchmen himself, I don't think really liked Zack Snyder's take. I don't think the creator of Watchmen likes any takes. To be honest with you, he just wants to be left alone, and he wants his work to be left alone. But once you get involved with DC Comics and Warner Brothers, your work's not your own anymore. You know, you sold your soul to the devil. I'm sorry, mate. This is how the business works. And this is how capitalism works. So the people who love the original graphic novels don't like Watchmen. I really don't understand why they don't. But, you know, I haven't read the graphic novel, so it's easy for me to say this is a brilliant fucking movie. And it is. And I think if you haven't read the graphic novels, this is a great place to enter the Watchmen universe as well. So this was the moment that opinions on Snyder became divisive, because he did something that people feel is very controversial to Watchmen. But you ain't seen nothing yet, because when he was tapped to do Man of Steel, the haters really crawled under their rocks, and there was such hatred. And I've explained the situation from my point of view before. I had never heard of Snyder. I didn't know he did Watchmen. Once I researched him, I realised he'd done 300 and Watchmen, and I loved those films, so I was really excited. But there was a lot of people angry with this appointment. This was a very controversial appointment. Probably one of the most controversial appointments of a director on a movie of all time. But in a way, the people, the haters, were right. He was going to be all Zack Snyder. He was going to be all Watchmen with this. He was going to do his thing. Nothing compared to what he was going to do with Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. Now that truly, as we all know now, was a divisive movie that really broke his plan and the original plan of the DCEU. They did succeed in destroying Snyder. After BVS, he was removed from that franchise. But Snyder didn't go into the night. He didn't go quietly. Snyder had a plan. And after Justice League, he came back fighting. That was his opportunity. But how do you beat Hollywood? There's only one of two ways you defeat Hollywood. They hate bad optics. Now, they really tried to fight back against Snyder when he came back. Snyder's return, if you like, is a bit like Return of the Jedi or something, or Rocky fighting Drago. You know, Drago keeps on smashing Rocky's face in, but Rocky keeps on getting back up off the floor. It really is a Rocky story. But it's an interesting thing because Snyder started to leak a lot of things that apparently weren't from Snyder, but were from Snyder, if you get what I mean. Snyder manipulated the Release the Snyderverse movement. Now, he claims it was, you know, he had nothing to do with it, and fan, you know, first the fan, you know, hashtag Release the Snyder Cup. But I think that's when Snyder had a little idea. So the more, you know, positive reactions he got from his fans, from us lot, the more he would release. As I explained the other day, it was the Iris West save from The Flash, Barry Allen, in his version of Justice League, that got released first. There's no way that could have leaked without Zack leaking it. So he really did manipulate the Release the Snyder Cup movement, and it started getting a lot of attention, and it was very exciting because it did seem at that point that we were going to win, as impossible as it seemed. We knew that the Donner Cup movement won, but it took them so many years. It may even took them 20 years or something, and it's not even Donner's complete vision, but it's better than nothing, right? But then something happened that knocked Snyder for 6 and knocked all of us for 6. The Wall Street Journal and one of their journalists released a hit piece. Interviewing employees of Warner Brothers, they denied the Snyder Cut ever existed, that there was a completed version of this film. But of course, there was never a completed version. There was basically Snyder shot the entire movie, wrapped, but he hadn't put it together yet. But he did put it together roughly for his friends, people like Jason Momoa boasting that they had seen it. And you know, someone asked him in an interview pre-Aquaman, but could Zack do that, put it together and put special effects? You don't think Zack could do that? So Zack did do something, but it wasn't anything like the movie you've got in your collection now, and what I've got in my collection and digitally on Amazon as well. It's a fucking masterpiece. It wasn't a masterpiece then. So there was no completed Justice League movie from Zack Snyder, but he had shot mostly everything that he wanted. Just think about it. He actually shot extra scenes when the cut was green-lit, after they told him not to. So this guy is he's Spartacus. He's a fucking warrior. So basically, they attempted to put him down. He came back. And then the Wall Street Journal article really hurt. But Snyder kept on posting after a break, and we were back. We were revitalized again. And people on the production would come out, and the more we went on, the more louder Snyder would get, because he was very quiet at first. Because when Justice League was first released, Snyder was quiet. You know, he would make no quotes, no comments. Obviously, he was in a lot of pain, but he came back and he was leaking stuff and releasing stuff. This was a very smart move. Now, somehow Snyder could legally do this. I still don't understand how he did, but he did, because he owns a certain amount of the copyright, not all of it, by the way. So, but obviously, if they found out, if they could prove he leaked it, he would have been in trouble. But there's no way in a court of law that you can prove that someone's leaked anything, right? You know, one of his kids could have got to it. But he was doing it, and he was getting away with it. So we kind of raised back up after the Wall Street Journal calamity, and we were starting to do a lot of damage. No matter what Warner Brothers tried, no matter what leaks about they had no intention of releasing any Snyder Cut, and there wasn't any Snyder Cut, they were losing. They were losing the battle of public opinion. And the more it went on, these incredible fans and the leaders, and I hate saying there were leaders to the movement, but there were people who were organising stuff. And they were being tactically astute, as was Snyder. I'm quite sure these organisers of the Snyder Cut, released the Snyder Cut, had Zack's ear, and it was carefully planned out. Very, very clever. Zack Snyder won the war against Hollywood, quite simply because he had what they said he didn't. He had his movie, and all he had to do was put it together and put the special effects. But even that wouldn't have won him on its own, the war against Hollywood. The only reason he won it, and the ace in the hole, the ace up his sleeve, was AT&T. Once they came in, the movement doubled down on contacting AT&T, their tellers, answering phones, being extra sweet and extra nice to them, sending them flowers, sending them cakes, phoning up. And of course, this is a customer service business who answer phone calls all day. So they were going to say there's no Snyder Cut. They were just going to say, well, we'll talk to the right people for you. So AT&T realised that there was money in this, but Warner Brothers Pictures begged them not to do it. Warner Brothers Pictures didn't want this to happen because Warner Brothers Pictures made the decision to bin Snyder. People like Toby Emmerich, Jeff Johns, you know, Kevin Sujihara, who was no longer there, by the way. There was new leadership there, but it was complicated. They didn't want the cut to see the light of day because, of course, no one wants the public to know that the movie that they made was a piece of shit, but the movie that Snyder made was going to go down like a fucking classic. This was going to be like, what's it called? Gone with the Wind. This was going to be a fucking classic. And they've been this for Justice League, all because they were under pressure from the public and the media to take the DCEU to a brighter, you know, hopeful, more franchise. Ultimately, that didn't work because you can't make shit smell nice, basically. The Snyderverse started a certain way. The Snyderverse had to be completed. That's the only way you got out of this, is if you completed the Snyderverse. They were so thick and stupid, they didn't realise. Just let the guy complete his vision and bin him. Then bin him. No one can have no complaints if he finishes his arc and enacts a flashpoint, which they're doing already anyway. So now they're refusing to restore the Snyderverse. They're refusing to allow Snyder to have Justice League 2 and 3. They're refusing to make the Batfleck movie. They're refusing to release the Air Cut. So they've got this hanging over their heads. So for next year, when they've got this new vision, this new look for the DCEU, they're rebooting the franchise at the end of 2022 with the Flash movie. It's like WB Pictures have now got a Damocles around their neck, because if these movies fail, that's it. And then the Snyderverse movement, again, has got exactly what it needs. It's got another weapon to put over their heads. Because then the Snyderverse movement can say, well, look, you've tried again to colour up this franchise and it's not worked. Of course, this could work. If anything's going to work, this is going to work. The Batman, Black Adam, Flash, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Batgirl, Blue Beetle. This is actually a good plan to try and move away from it. But there's conflicting kind of hearsay if you put your ear on the right ground, as you know I do. Because the Flash movie is using Zack's VFX teams. There's now rumours that Patty Jenkins is going to use an element of Justice League 3 with, it's looking like, as I read out to you yesterday, the rumour, the leaked kind of story of Diana ultimately becoming the queen of the Amazons at the end of Wonder Woman 3, which is exactly what would have happened at the end of Justice League 3. Has Snyder done a little arrangement with them? I don't know. So at the beginning of the year, after the Snyder Cup was released, from Sarnoff saying, no, that's it, that's the end, maybe Zack Snyder has had a little conversation with them. It's interesting, because of course they know the Snyder Cut is liquid gold. They've made the money. They've made the money. So they know. They've got the receipts of what this film's made. So they know. They know. I've seen these receipts. As I say, I'm very well connected. I have shit views, right? I'm not very popular, but I'm very well connected. And I've seen what this film made. And I told you at the time when I broke the news, the most successful streaming event of all time. It may even compete, not beat, but compete some sporting events on broadcast television. Not in terms of ratings, because you can't really judge it as a rating. All you can say is how many times people have streamed it. How many times have people bought Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cup? A lot. They've made a hell of a lot of money. Who knows this? David Zaslav, who's going to take over the entire company, the newly formed Warner Brothers Discovery. He knows this. It's all about the money. He doesn't care if the Snyderverse fans are deemed as toxic. Nobody gives a flying fuck. And at Discovery, that's not how they do business. They don't attack the fans. Just like, and if you look at AT&T, they never attacked us. It was Warner Brothers Pictures. They were happy to restore the entire Snyderverse. And if it wasn't for Zack and Ray and the people at Warner Brothers Pictures going hammer and tongue at each other, as I said to you many months ago, it would have been restored. AT&T was going to restore the Snyderverse, but Fisher made it impossible for them. Because there's certain people they couldn't expose. They didn't want to expose Jeff Johns. But Fisher wouldn't let it go. And I understand where Ray's coming from. I absolutely do. But he fucked it up. They got their revenge to a point. They exposed what was going on with Zack and the Justice League reshoots. But ultimately, the one goal that Zack wanted and still wants to restore the Snyderverse was destroyed because AT&T wanted to restore that. I'll repeat myself again for you at the back so you don't understand this. This is not guesswork. I'm not lying to you. I know this for a fact. AT&T, John Stankey, was going to go above Ann Sarnoff's head. Think about this. And restore the Snyderverse purely on HBO Max because he saw the money coming in. He saw the views and the streams. It was huge. And the only reason this didn't happen is because Zack Snyder, Ray Fisher, Ann Sarnoff, Toby Emmerich, and all them lot couldn't act like adults. So I love you, Zack. If you by accident watch one of my videos, don't think I'm being negative about you. I love you, man. You're great. You are one of the best directors here in this industry because most of them are creatively bankrupt. You are trying to entertain. You are trying to give us your vision, and it's beautiful. But you don't walk on water, and neither do I, by the way. So I'm always balanced about these conversations. They were going to restore the Snyderverse. So we may get something like what they're doing now, maybe with Wonder Woman. Maybe we'll never see the Snyderverse restored, but because of the Snyderverse making money, and I am hearing rumblings about this, by the way, that they're going to use elements of Snyder's storytelling in some of the DCEU films. But the biggest victory here is, and the biggest victory in Zack Snyder's war against Hollywood is that the Snyder Cut is canon going forward. Yes, baby, it is canon. It's going to be canon in the Flash movie at the beginning of the movie. Let's see what happens when they do Flashpoint, but it's going to be canon, right? And we're talk about J.K. Simmons again. Everything is canon again. Justice League is not canon. That was never going to be possible anyway. How can Justice League be canon to anything? It's not a canon. Anyway, Justice League isn't a canon maker. It doesn't really set up a new story away from Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. All the Justice League basically does is cut elements out of it. It doesn't create a new story. It doesn't give you anything new. So even if Justice League was canon, obviously some of the stuff we didn't see in Justice League, you could say, oh, well, that's not canon, it's not in the film. But anyway, Justice League is never going to be canon. Even Patty Jenkins said the directors don't even think about Justice League. Justice League is dead in the water. The Snyderverse is canon. So going forward, we'll get these scenarios now where, you know, in Wonder Woman 3, they take elements of Snyder's Justice League 3 and make Diana, aka Gal Gadot, the brilliant Gal Gadot in this role, by the way, to be Queen of the Amazons and things like that. And you're going to see this in different elements of these films. So we're going to read this article now. I'll find it. I'll press pause and I'll find it. You didn't really need to know that. And then we'll go into this article because it's very, very interesting. Snyder posted this picture, obviously from 1854, 1884, whatever, where Wonder Woman and a group of natives, are all holding these severed heads. So people went mad when they found out about this. Patty Jenkins hated this take, and that's one battle she won for Wonder Woman 2017, because they couldn't just keep on chasing directors. They already lost one director, so they had to kind of say, okay, Patty, we won't do that. Maybe that is slightly over the top. But why was Snyder showing off that picture? Let's see if Comic Book have got any new information. I doubt it, but it's a discussion, isn't it? This might not be about the picture he teased last week. I think he's teased something for Thanksgiving. Anyway, let's see what Russ Burlingame has to say from Comic Book. Zack Snyder teases Final Crisis on Thanksgiving. I had no idea. So, months after the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the filmmaker has raised eyebrows on social media with a Thanksgiving post that some are hoping hints at a return to the DC Films universe. It's a post simply captioned thankful. Snyder shared a photo of his turkey, but in the background fans immediately noticed that a copy of Absolute Final Crisis could be seen. Wow! Along with a pair of notebooks on top of it. Wow! This combined with a recent tweet from artist Clay Staub that depicted Darkseid and Desaad along with Zack Snyder's Justice League hashtag has fans excited that something might be happening. This is very interesting. Don't forget, Rebel Moon is going to keep him busy for the next year or so, 18 months I'm sure. But, you know, things can happen. As I say, Clay Staub, we spoke about this a couple of days ago. Maybe Clay Staub can direct this movie, with Snyder helping him out, advising him. Staub later clarified that the sketch was just something he did while watching the Snyder Cup, now available on HBO Max as well as DVD, Blu-ray and 4K UHD. But there are some who still insist that the proximity of the two posts is meaningful. It's easy enough to dismiss this as wishful thinking, but that's what happened for years until Zack Snyder's Justice League was announced officially. Final Crisis was a 2008-2009 comic book crossover event from DC, which as promoted as the day Evil won. It centered on Darkseid successfully finding the anti-life equation and using it to enslave millions of people on Earth before being turned back by the heroes of the DC universe. Along the way, Batman died. Something that Snyder had long hinted was a long-term plan for his version of the DC universe. He didn't just hint it, he said it. It's clear. So Final Crisis basically is Snyder's arc. He's literally adapting a fucking comic book. I didn't even realise that because I've never read Final Crisis. But just reading that about it excites me. Now that's nuts, right? We'll talk about it in a minute. Let's keep on reading. Snyder did not say anything at all to tease a follow-up to his Justice League film, but given the way he has done things in the past, a blurry image on Vero meant for only the hardest of hardcore fans to see is exactly how one might expect him to tackle a tease like this. Listen, this is what he did when he was fighting for the Snyder Cup. This is interesting. I don't think this is just a fluke, and I don't think Clay Staub was just jotting stuff for kicks. There's something going on here. Final Crisis was the third major Crisis crossover at DC, following Crisis on Infinite Earths and Final Crisis. Crisis on Infinite Earths was teased, or at least homaged, in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, with a future version of the Flash appearing in front of Batman to warn him of coming danger, as he did in the comics. You see, it's all adapted from the comics. And people say he doesn't know DC Comics. Wow. Years after Justice League hit theatres, but before Zack Snyder's Justice League was released to HBO Max, Ezra Miller appeared on the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths adaptation, meeting up with TV's The Flash. Grant Gustin in the Speed Force, the Flash film producers have hinted that his appearance will be canonical and that Miller's Barry Allen may get the name The Flash from that exchange, and I think he absolutely will. So it's very, very interesting, because it's kind of funny and strange and weird of Zack to do this, because he's very busy right now. He's deep in pre-production for Rebel Moon. So he's not exactly, he's not on his holidays. He's not on his vacation, as you Americans would say. So this is fascinating. So we had the Clay Staub tease. Zack showed that picture from his original take of the first Wonder Woman movie. Now this, a picture of a turkey. He's done it, of course he's done it on purpose. Had comic books and a pad and a pen on top of it in blurry. He's done it on purpose. This guy can direct the greatest looking movies, so I'm sure Zack Snyder can take a picture of a turkey and make sure we can see Final Crisis in the background. So I'm stunned by this revelation, and what I would say is something is coming. Something is happening. How Zack can be involved, as he can't right now because he's busy, I don't know. But something, my friends, is most certainly brewing. And keep it here to find out more. And finally today, to reiterate how shared and connected the DCEU is going to be thus forward, shall I say, in the future, is basically J.K. Simmons adds a bit more butter on the sandwich about his Batgirl performance. Not much, but this is what he had to say. I'm going to get on the horn with Leslie Grace and the directors in the next couple of days and do a little preliminary rehearsals on it. A couple of months from now, they start very soon, and then I jump on board sometime in January over in Glasgow, which is a wonderful place to be shooting it because it's, gothic. I'm excited to be the once and future Jim Gordon, and JK, I couldn't be more happy for you. And of course, he's back as Jameson in Spider-Man No Way Home. So exciting times for J.K. Simmons, and absolutely deserved. I fucking love him in the first three Raimi Spider-Man movies as Jameson. But we're talking about DC here. So, is it me? And please someone correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they shoot the Wayne Mansion in Glasgow for Flashpoint, for the Flash movie being released at the end of next year? Is this a clue that Michael Keaton will be the Batman in this film, in this Batgirl movie, and not Ben Affleck? But just because Michael Keaton's in it doesn't mean Ben Affleck won't be in it. And it all depends if this comes before or after Flashpoint, because everything's up for grabs after Flashpoint, whatever movies and TV we see. But if this is pre-Flashpoint, this is interesting. I put it to you that both Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck will be in the Batgirl movie. So that's very interesting to me. Two Batmen in a Batgirl movie, isn't that too much? This is what the multiverse is. Like it or not, listen, anyone who's going to start saying, oh, male characters are going to dominate a female leads movie. Well, it's happened in the latest MCU Disney Plus show, hasn't it? A woman, a girl, is dominating the stage. So I don't like that, but that's not happening here anyway. So stop your moaning. But, I think they'll be in it fleetingly. But listen, Batgirl is part of Batman's universe, right? So he's going to be involved. And it's looking like Keaton is going to be involved too. Now, as I said, I don't know what's happening. It's pre-Flashpoint. So how could Michael Keaton be in it? I have no idea. I'm just theorising. But if it is a pre-Flash movie, I would expect Ben Affleck to certainly be in it. If Michael Keaton isn't going to do some kind of head-scratching thing and be in it as well. I don't know. They won't tell us. But it's interesting because the two directors said, this is all they've said. I've mentioned this on this channel before. It's the real Batman. So, who is the real Batman? Some people may think that Ben Affleck is the real Batman. But to a lot of people, Michael Keaton is the true, great, iconic Batman. I don't really have the Batman. I love them all to a point. I mean, I love Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and Michael Keaton's the Don. So all three of those actors are awesome to me. So I don't have a top one. I know it's an either-or generation, but I don't really have an either-or pick. Who's the best, who's the greatest, best to worst, and all that bullshit. So it's interesting. So we really don't know which Batman is going to be in this movie. Or could there be more than one? Who knows? This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Nick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment. Please subscribe. So important. And for the few people who have subscribed, I thank you. For the people who have stuck with me, I thank you equally. Please hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll see you again tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until then, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye.